Hey there, and welcome to That's Audacious, where we share entrepreneurial stories from amazing leaders to inspire and motivate you to be bold, brave, and audacious. I'm your host, Lauren Clemett, the brand navigator, here to share stories that will make you say, well, hello, that's and welcome audacious. To the That's Audacious podcast. And I have the most amazing guest today, the fabulous Brett Farmiloe, who is the founder and CEO of Featured. And we will talk a lot about Featured today because I think it's an absolutely brilliant platform for growing your profile. Now, Brett, you've got an amazing background. I'm not going to go too deep into it because I want you to introduce yourself, but you've done some incredible things. I know you've just recently taken over HARO, and we'll talk a little bit about that as well and how that works with what you're doing. But you've done a huge amount in marketing. You've worked with Hugh Jackman. You've had a really interesting project with Hot Pockets. There's all sorts of fun stuff in your background that I love. So maybe you can introduce yourself a little bit and tell us where you've come from and why you're doing what you're doing with Featured.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of pockets to cover, pun intended. So I started off as an auditor, financial auditor, and then started a career education website that sent me and 3 friends around America in a recreational vehicle, interviewing people about their career paths, documenting those stories on a website for other college students to take a look at, to figure out how do you get to where you want to be. And that was really transformational in terms of we went 38 states, traveled 16,000 miles, interviewed more than 300 people. And the thing that I took away from that journey, we were on the road for like 4 months, but the thing that I took away was that everyone needs a meaningful outlet to share. And so you basically we were sitting down with CEOs, sitting down with goat farmers, sitting down with Michael Jordan's shoe designer, all these different people. And inevitably I would ask myself, why are people taking an hour of their time to share their story? And like the only thing I could come back to, 15 years later after that journey, is that people just want to like take their life's experiences, take their expertise, and put it in a way that's going to be helpful for others to use. And so, flash forward to kind of where we are today. I started a digital marketing company, ran that for 10 years, sold it, focused on doing what we're doing now with Featured.com. And really, everyone needs a little answer box and a thought-provoking question to bring out that knowledge and put it in a useful way for readers and for journalists to portray in stories. So, long story short, that's kind of what led me to do what we're doing today.
Yeah, brilliant. Love it. So that first company you were talking about, Pursue the Passion.
Yeah.
I love that in itself, right? And there is something about finding your passion, isn't it? And of all the people you spoke to in that first early journey, what were some of the stories that you still remember today and you still find yourself sharing with people?
Yeah, I think it's stories, but also experiences. One of the craziest experiences, we were probably about 3 months into the trip, and we got this random email from a goat farmer in Tennessee, and we drove way out of our way to go to this goat farm, and 75 different goats here, and she specialized in raising fainting goats. And fainting goats are, if you watch them on YouTube, they faint. Yeah, exactly. And so we decided to put the theory to the test when my friends started chasing them around, and one by one they're kind of dropping and fainting, and basically the adult fainting goats, they get a paralysis and they freeze up for like 10 seconds. And then meanwhile, there was these baby fainting goats right next to me who weren't fainting, fearless. And I asked the goat farmer, like, what's up with the babies? And like, well, they haven't learned fear yet. And so I really took that experience and translated it into, as a founder, as an entrepreneur, a lot of the decisions that you have to make can very easily paralyze you from moving forward. And so as corny as it sounds, like channeling your baby fainting goat and like pushing forward and trying to have a sense of fearlessness allows you to accomplish some good things. So I think that experience really stuck with me.
Yeah, there's a whole book there, I reckon, The Baby Fainting Goat Effect. There's a whole book. I love that idea of remaining childlike, especially as an entrepreneur. And you've got that fabulous, Richard Branson, screw it, just do it. There's that whole attitude of just facing the fear and doing it anyway, but actually witnessing it in those goats. I had a goat once. His name was Dougal. He was very intelligent, and goats are amazing creatures. But wow, what an amazing story. So
yeah, shout out to Doodle.
To Doodle, I don't know where he is, but yeah, awesome guy. So pursuing the passion, I guess you're still doing that now with Featured, aren't you? Because people are very passionate about their either being a thought leader or creating an impact. Who are you finding are already becoming most attracted to Featured? Who's it mostly for?
Well, I would say that the people who are gravitating towards the platform are typically PR agencies, they're in-house marketing teams, and that they're do-it-yourself small business owners, and then they're also licensed, credentialed professionals. And so we're seeing a ton of people who, basically want to get connected with reputable publications and put their knowledge to good use. So with Featured, it's as simple as showing up, finding a question to answer, submitting your 4 to 8 sentence answer, and the next thing you know, you might be featured on a different publication.
Yeah, absolutely. And what I like about it so much, and if you're listening to this, there will be links at the end, so you can go and check it out yourself, try it out. You can get started for free as well, can't you, Brett?
Yep, it's a freemium model. You can answer up to 3 questions a month at no cost.
Yeah, awesome. So depending on how fast you want to go, obviously, I've talked about this before. If you want to build your brand faster, you tend to have to invest a little bit more, but just get started, right? Dip your toe in the water and do it. The thing with Featured that I like, there are lots of platforms out there, lots of portals where you can list yourself as an expert. It's like a directory. Featured is way more interactive than that, isn't it, Brett? There's so much more that you can do with it.
Yeah, there's a ton of stuff. You could write byline articles and pitch those to publications. So if you feel like expressing your expertise in more than 4 to 8 sentences, you could write a whole article with it. There's interview profiles where you could name the topic that you want to be interviewed about. And essentially our AI will generate a bunch of questions for you to answer for that publication specifically. And you can get featured in an interview profile there. We also have this new feature called Pitch Plus, where you could basically just enter a topic and then it'll generate different questions that you could answer that are on topic. So if there's a trending news story, if there's something that you're not seeing listed on Featured that you really want to answer, you could ask yourself questions, and then those answers essentially get marketed out to journalists who are working on relevant stories. So there's a bunch of different stuff that's happening from the source side, and then for publishers, you could essentially request content, and you can have free high quality content for your website.
Yeah, brilliant. From people who know what they're talking about. This is the really cool thing. It's sort of weeding through the people who want to be known as an expert and the people who actually are experts and have enough foundational knowledge.
Yeah, it was super cool. Yesterday I was talking with a PR agency, and she was kind enough to share a video that she filmed with her company, and she was pitching Featured in an unfiltered way. And one of the things that she did was she asked a question to get content back for her site. And in the video, she's like, I think she got like 57 different responses from people. And she was like, originally I thought that this was all just going to be AI garbage. I thought 100% of these people were going to be AI generated fake personas. But then I started, connecting with them on LinkedIn and messaged them back and forth. And I soon realized like there's actual people behind this platform. So it's been pretty incredible to be able to see that connection be made and to be useful for both sides.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you've got a magazine, an online publication, a portal, a podcast, and you're looking for guests, all those sorts of things, you're wanting to maybe create a collaborative book with experts, it's a great program to get hold of and to go, hey, look, I'm looking for people for this particular topic. So this is cool. Both sides of the fence works really well. The other thing I noticed is very, very clever use of AI. And you mentioned it a little bit, Brett, with how it actually helps you formulate pitches and answer questions pertinent to particular publications. Is there anything you're seeing as a result of that in terms of the quality of the sorts of responses you're getting?
I think the biggest thing, so we're partners with Google, with NVIDIA, with OpenAI. Our whole infrastructure is powered by AI. And so I think the biggest opportunity that AI has is in the matching. So how do you take someone who's existing in a database and how do you activate them with the right question at the right time? And so I think that's probably the coolest, use of AI that we have, is being able to say, okay, journalist asks a question, who is well qualified to answer this question now? Who within our database should we proactively ask to get those insights back? And how do we make this matching really efficient and effective? I think that's really cool, especially because traditionally a lot of the problems with platforms like ours is that there's a lot of waste. There's a lot of like submitting an answer and it doesn't get used and you lose enthusiasm for it. And and then the journalist is bombarded with 100 responses. They got to go through it all. So I think that, AI has a real place in a platform like ours to make that matchmaking, much more efficient.
I love it. It's like AI-driven Tinder for profile building. It's just, it's so cool. So yeah, and there are lots of other platforms out there, but if you've not heard of Featured before, and this is global as well, Brett, isn't it? It's not just for US-based journalists or people based in the US or the UK for their profile building. It's global.
Yeah, I'd say that's predominantly United States, but probably about 70% in the US, maybe about 15% in the UK, and then I think maybe like 10% in Australia, New Zealand. So yeah, and then 5% other, if I'm doing my math correctly.
100 and something percent. It'll be fine.
Yeah,
yeah, I'm the same. Dyspraxia will get in there straight away. So this is a really interesting time where we have so much content being created at the moment. And as you say, the AI drivers behind that makes it really difficult for people to cut through the noise and get through that, what I would call slop that's out there. How do you think Featured is really helping with that?
Yeah, I think it's human credibility. I think that you're attaching someone's name, their image, their likeness, their credentials next to an answer. And I think that's useful for a couple of reasons. Number one, I think it's interesting from a reader perspective. And when you're reading an article and you're able to essentially see that there's verified claims from an expert who's credible, that's validating what's being said in this article, that's really powerful. So I think that that's one from the reader perspective, but then also from the search engines who are being bombarded by this content creation and trying to determine what to rank and what not to rank. I think it's a really powerful signal to include human experts within content that can be verified and have credible citations throughout the internet, and including them in your content, I think is just a good move. So I think that's some of the trends that we're seeing, where in particular some of the more reputable publishers are coming to us with requests of how do I get connected with, number one, sources who have been cited on reputable domains before, and then number two, also have a willingness to share on social. That's another really interesting trend that's happening in the space, where publishers are looking to diversify their content traffic sources, and they're trying to reduce the reliance on search, increase the the referral traffic from social, and they're tapping into humans and experts to actually do that. So a lot of cool trends in the space.
Yeah, how amazing. We're back to actual connection and human relationships. Hooray, surprise. So you are listening to the That's Audacious podcast. If you like what you're listening to, you can find lots of other episodes on just about any podcast channel that you prefer to use. And we'd love it if you'd subscribe to our channel. Of course, all the links will be below. Now, the next thing I wanted to talk to you about, Brett, because you've been in marketing almost the same length I have. I mean, I was involved in brand management before the internet, so that shows how really old I am. But what are the big changes that you have seen that are not always good, not always bad? They're just so different these days that if you are a thought leader, if you're an expert in a particular topic, it's getting harder and harder, isn't it, to stand out and be noticed. So what are some of the things you've noticed over the past few decades that you've been working in marketing that have changed? And what do you think these sorts of people need to do about that change in order to stay relevant and be seen and be noticed?
Yeah, I think that it goes back to the problem of why thought leadership is important in the first place, and why would you do it? And it's basically to connect with your customers. That's plain and simple from my perspective. Why you would invest in posting to LinkedIn or using a platform like ours is you need to build up your visibility so your customers know that you exist, so you could grow your business. And so if you look at the ways that that's transformed over the last 10, 15 years. There's many, many different ways for you to connect with your customers, and it's just gotten louder and more competitive. And so it shifts the scales to, hey, I'm going to market my business to I'm going to market myself, and I'm going to market myself as an entity that represents that business, because people connect with people. And so if you look at, how do you stand out amongst that crowd? I actually think that it's probably easier than ever, because it's been democratized. It's been leveled in terms of platforms like ours. Platforms like LinkedIn, that you can essentially tap into your network and share some insights and, get some visibility. So I think that that's the big shift, is that I feel like people are sometimes the best marketing for your business, and you have to look and see what different platforms make that ROI worth it.
Yeah, certainly the barriers to entry have just disappeared, haven't they? I mean, back in the day, it cost a lot of money to create TV ads and get yourself out there and pay for media and so on, and you can just do all that yourself now. But as you say, it's that, okay, that's easier to get out there. That just means that there's more of it. It's not always necessarily good. So what are some of the challenges that you've experienced yourself as a thought leader, as somebody who's building these amazing platforms and providing these incredible solutions and services? What are some of the things you've come across in your own journey as an entrepreneurial thought leader?
I think maybe it's encouraging others on the team to also be thought leaders, and to I feel like, this is not just our team, but just people in general. There's a sense of hesitancy to put yourself out there, myself included. Like, I've only posted on LinkedIn maybe 5 times in the last like 3-4 years. I don't like putting myself out there from that perspective. And at the same time, like, everyone's an expert in something. Everyone has something valuable to share. It's just a matter of, one, getting over your hesitancy to actually share it and getting the confidence to do it. And I feel like that's where platforms like ours make it easier, because there's a question there. It's not a blank space. What's on your mind? It's like, LinkedIn, why are you asking me this? Like, I don't feel like just putting this out there to folks. But if there's a question prompt and Featured emailed you and requested, hey, this question's here, we want to put your expertise to use, I think that's really helping people get over that barrier and allowing a lot more knowledge to be shared online.
Yeah, absolutely. That whole idea that AI is overcoming the blank page syndrome, isn't it? Where you've just got, I don't know what to say. I don't know how to say it. I've got this itty bitty shitty committee in my head going, no one wants to know anyway. So the thing about the featured platform is that ability to go, what am I going to share? Oh, well, there's already a question. Oh, somebody actually wants to know that. Right, let's go. So the other thing that's happening as well, and I love what you're mentioning in terms of people do business with people. And this is the number one question I get asked all the time. What is the difference between growing my personal brand and growing the brand for my business? And you mentioned before that the personal branding side of things is becoming more and more important because people want to know who's behind the brands. How does Featured really help in both aspects for someone if they might not own a business, but they might say be a speaker or an author or have a podcast or something else? How does that really work for them?
Yeah, I just look at the end output of what Featured produces, which is all of these different articles that have attribution back to the expert who's submitted insights for that story. And so when you're featured in a story, it's typically your name and your attribution. Your Brett Farmiloe, CEO, featured.com, with a link back over to Featured and a link over to my LinkedIn profile. And the intersection between those two is just becoming closer and closer. So if you're thinking about, how do I build my personal brand? It's also like in conjunction building up your business brand, because if you look at that end output, the two are right side by side.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like that umbrella brand that covers everything. I love it. So big news, Features has also just purchased HARO, Help a Reporter Out. Now, a good friend of mine, Peter Shankman, started HARO all those years ago. So I know a little bit about HARO. HARO, for those in Australia, it's a little bit like our sauce bottle, which Dick Barrington runs. And she has that same thing where you can get all these responses come in on your email from journalists looking for stories, and you can respond to those. What are you doing with HARO, and why did you take it over, and what are your plans?
Yeah, just to give the HARO backstory. So founded in 2008, was acquired in 2010, was ran for 14 years, effectively was rebranded and then subsequently discontinued in December of 2024. And when that happened, we reached out and said, hey, like, HARO actually kind of deserves a second or third life. Like, would you be interested in selling it? And so we were able to acquire it, and we decided to revive it exactly how it was before, because I think it's a really rare case that you have a product that truly had product market fit. It's one of the weirdest, oddest brands I've ever been a part of, because so many people have a strong connection to the brand. They have a nostalgic experience that they got featured in their very first, prominent publication via Help a Reporter Out. And people, the most common word that I've heard from users in the last 3 weeks since we revived it was devastated that it disappeared, and so happy in all caps that it's back. And so, like, I think that, it's a really, really simple email newsletter service. Journalists request sources, then that request gets into a newsletter. It gets sent out 3 times a day. Sources respond directly to the reporter, and they converge for a story. And we've seen over, 15,000 plus connections in 15 days. Every minute of a business day, a journalist is connecting with a verified HARO source. And it's been a really incredible thing far surpassed my expectations in terms of the initial reaction to it.
Yeah, brilliant. Well done. I'm so pleased that it's back. Like you say, there's a real brand buy-in with that, with HARO, and it's wonderful to see somebody giving it some love, which is just wonderful. And it doesn't need to impress anybody. Do you know what I mean? It just needs to be.
What it is. Yeah.
Exactly it. So now, last things we'll cover off here. Any tips or advice you would like to give people in general around profile building, being known as the expert, becoming a source, anything you'd like to share from your years of experience in working with people to follow their passion, to pursue their passion, to get themselves out there, to get over that hesitancy, anything you'd like to share that might be something useful for people right now today?
Yeah, I think that the biggest challenge that faces people who want to jump into a platform like ours is time. How do you maximize your time? How do you stay engaged? We frequently see it's like going to the gym. It's like you sign up for the gym membership, you got all the best intentions to go work out. 3 months go by and you're like, you know what, like that gym membership I'm going to keep, but I don't want to go to the gym as much. Time is the thing that really stands in the way. So my suggestion always is to like sign up for something like featured.com, set your keyword alerts, and like be very, very specific with your keyword alerts. And when you get a perfect email match, jump in and maximize your time on that one thing, because if you're answering every question under the sun, chances are you're going to have a really low success rate because there's a lot of competition. Journalists are looking for verified, credible sources. And so if you speak to the one question that you're super qualified to answer, you're going to have success and you're going to maximize your time. So that's the thing that I always recommend is just sign up, set a keyword alert, monitor it, and then when you see that opportunity, jump on it.
Yeah, and get really super focused, hyper focused on what you want to be known as the expert for. So that makes it really easy to answer those questions. Great advice. I love it. Now, Brett, the question I always ask every guest on the podcast, if we could go back in time to anywhere in your past, what advice would you give yourself?
Well, definitely financial advice.
Buy Bitcoin. Yeah, no.
Definitely financial advice. Like, I mean, one of the biggest, craziest things of being an entrepreneur is always balancing your burn rate and your personal burn rate and your business burn rate and, these different things until ultimately you start to see some uptick on things. So maybe, and time the market from a stock investing perspective, like that's a really practical accountant thing to say. And if you want to get, philosophical on stuff, like, I don't know, I would tell myself not to start one business because it failed in 6 months, so would have shaken my head a little bit and said, hey, think about your market sizing, think about your margins, think about your ability to actually execute on these different things so that you could better prospect business ideas, because your time is the most scarce thing that you have. And I'd love to have those 6 months back and not have a hard learning lesson. So yeah, there you have it.
They're all lessons, aren't they? They're not necessarily failures. They're just, I don't want to do that again. And what did I learn from it? Yeah, I love it. That's brilliant. We've covered off so much in such a short period of time. I love your analogy about it's just like the gym. I've got a photograph here somewhere. I don't know where it is of my journey with the gym from being overweight to being a bodybuilder. I absolutely agree with you. You've got to put in the reps, right? And you can't just show up and maybe once a week go, hey, I want to be a size whatever and eat what you want off the couch. It's like, if you want to build a brand, you want to build a profile, you want to be that go-to specialist, you need to dedicate consistent time and effort to it. But programs and platforms like Featured and HARO are awesome to help you do that. So they do really absolutely cut down the time. If you haven't tried Featured yet, please go and check it out. There'll be links at the bottom of this interview. Go and find out more about Brett, connect with him. There'll be URLs on the podcast and on the blog as well. Brett, any last suggestions or thoughts before we finish up the podcast on Featured or on your journey to pursue your passion? Do you think you're pursuing your passion right now? Do you think you're doing the right things?
Beyond. I got 3 kids, 12, 9, and 6. The minivan stays active. The business is active. I'm happy. So no further questions. Thanks for having me on.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Brett. It's been such a pleasure to chat to you. And remember to follow Brett, sign up for Featured and for HARO, and get yourself out there because you deserve to be well known, well paid, and wanted. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks again, Lauren.
Thanks so much for listening to the That's Audacious podcast. Remember, there's no place for modesty in business, and you do deserve to be well known, well paid, and wanted. For more episodes, please subscribe to the podcast on your favourite channel or follow us online. The links are in the description below.